Pike. It's not too much I can say that hasn't been said. Darley's a great man, friend, whatever you wanted him to be, he did. So all we can say, Clark, is goodbye. Thank you. Already called the good Lord this morning. I says, have you got him yet? I said, yeah, baby.
Sister. But I want to tell you about my brother Clark. He loved his sisters. Now, if the picture was good, it would be up there on the board. But like he liked to do hair, well, one day he dressed me in Gina in some makeup, had our shirt dresses on, had our tights on, and had us posing. He also took us to Bible school. You know, I couldn't ask for a bigger brother. He taught us to be ladies, how to act in public, how to respect our elders, and that came from any child on down. You know, and to love family. And all family's not blood. There's proof of that today. You know, on behalf of Clark, I say thank all of you for remembering him and his family at this time. Because we got a large family, y'all. We can fill up this whole church with just family. You know, but I know Clark. I have to tell you, when I was crowned Little Miss Silver Springs in 1969, Clark had me all made up. I was supposed to be 12. I was 11. I've been 12 in 2 days. So, Lord, honey, me and Tissy was a sister to Sue's mama. We come up together from the crib. And me and Tissy's knees was knocking. I said, oh, Lord, Tissy, let's go. Never expecting I was going to be caught. But Clark, he loved all the young girls. He wanted them all to be ladies. He didn't know a stranger. Any child he see, you know he had to kiss on them and talk to them, and they just would smile. But I had to let you know, Clark was a big brother to many of us young ladies. I'm always going to be young. I don't care how old I am. You know, but he loved them all. And so he trained us to be ladies. He trained us to carry on his legacy like Mr. Rob Duncan and him, emceeing Miss Silver Springs. And then when Clark went to New York, here comes Dwayne. My cousin Peggy, Fidel Hendricks. And then Dwayne trained Jane. So as long as I can, this year's Park Day will be dedicated to Clark. There is no replacement. But each we're going to step into his shoes and see if we can do Clark right this year. And we just thank all of you for being here this morning. I love you all.
We are going to open it up for friends and other family members to express their stories or whatever they want to say for Clark. I am asking, at the request of the family, that you do not go over 2 minutes. So I say, speak for a minute and a half. Okay, so do not go over 2 minutes.
But I ain't no auctioneer, so it's going to be kind of no minutes. This is not something I ever thought I would do. Can y'all hear me okay? Yeah. Is that better? No. Is that better? Better. Okay. Can't beat this thing.
You only lose your best friend once. Clark Pike was my best friend. And I know I'm not the only one in here that can say that. It feels so wrong that he's not here to enjoy this gathering today because he loved and celebrated. He was a delightfully outrageous man, someone who defied the norms in every aspect of his life. He had an insatiable appetite for living life and never shrank from being himself. He was comfortable in his bones. He liked himself, and I never stopped loving him for it. Nothing about Clark was small, let's face it. He had a big heart and a big life. And in a lot of ways, he was bigger than life. One of my favorite stories was how he and my husband, John, met. It was the fall of 1969, and Johnny had shown up at Landers Theater to rehearse for a play called Wait Till Dark, which had, it had been a big hit movie with Audrey Hepburn and Alan Arkin. The bad guy stalks a woman who can't see and plots to kill her, very scary. Well, the doors at the front of the theater were closed. So Johnny had walked down the alley beside the theater to try the side door. That door was locked too. So he turned to go back to the front when he sees this very tall black man with a huge afro, platform shoes, and a superfly jumpsuit on walking through. You remember that? With a confused look on his face. So he stopped before he reached the end of the alley and he looked around and he said, "Is this where they're doing the play about the blind chick?" Johnny, just obviously relieved, said, "Yeah," and he told him he was one of the performers who was playing the male lead. And then this guy smiled that smile that we would come to know so well. "I'm Clark," he said. "I brought your wig." I met Clark one night that same fall in 1969 when my sister Deb and I, both students at SMS, heard a knock on our basement apartment door. Deb answered it. In a moment, there were these two guys that came drifting down the stairs. One was a guy named Bob Falls, and then there was this other guy, this giant, giggling black man, who had to fold himself in half to get down the stairs. They were making kooky sounds, okay, it was the 60s, as Bob removed his terrible toupee and began playing Keep Away, and as they descended, the two of them began a puppet show and a freeform ballet that went on for probably 20 minutes. It was silly and absurd to see two grown men behaving like toddlers, but it was that very silliness that made us laugh so hard. They were also pretty graceful. When they finally stopped, this tall black guy, still laughing, looked at me with his smile that went on forever and these deep, dark, twinkling eyes and said simply, "Hello," which made us laugh all over again. And it was love at first sight. For the years I was in Springfield, we became the best of friends. As the years passed, the three of us followed each other all over the country, visiting as often as we could. We spent countless nights talking till dawn and laughing, always laughing, that gut-busting, wheezing laughter. My husband John saw this first, that Clark read people better and faster than anybody he'd ever seen, walking through Brooklyn, Dallas, Chicago, or Manhattan. He'd hustle us slightly this way or that without saying a word, but Johnny saw what he was doing, shepherding, caretaking. That's what he did all of his life. He took care of others. He did it in the Navy at Norfolk. He never talked about it much, but he dressed the dead coming back from Vietnam. He did makeup and hair for people he knew and didn't know in funeral homes. He took care of his family, including the foster kids his mom took care of after she died suddenly, and raised them up before heading to Brooklyn to take care of people the way he liked best, by cooking for them. And he was good at it, just ask anybody. Clark had a special gift I've never seen in another human being. Johnny called him a man of joy. He was that, down to his DNA, and he shared it generously and in very healing ways. For decades, when I'd come back to Springfield, he and I would venture out together for a beer or a hamburger or settle somewhere for breakfast. And we would see white people walk by, even in this day and age, give us the look. He could see it coming a mile away. And he'd wait until they got close, and he'd look at them and flash that $1 million smile on his kind eyes, and he'd say, "Hello, how are you today?" The effect of him confronting their prejudice with kindness was like a magician tapping them with a wand. Invariably, that instant of kindness and friendship would snap them out of their stereotyped judgment, and they'd return that smile. And more often than not, they'd even stop and talk for a moment. It's a human tendency to feel good about letting go of your suspicion and fear, even if it's just for an instant. And Clark gave that gift to countless people. For many of them, it may have been their only connection to a person of color. But he made sure it gave them a moment of pause. a good memory. That internal mechanism of joy at his core was his genius. He loved people and truly never been a stranger. Throughout our lives, our family of friends became his friends. His visits were always celebrations, a sharing of his incredible love of life. This is the last measure of love any friend can give to another, this remembering we're doing here today. Because that's where each of us ends up at the end of our lives, in the hearts and memories of the people we leave behind. Maya Angelou, the great late Maya Angelou, said this: I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. That's your legacy to us, Clark, the way you made us feel. Thanks for that, my crazy, beautiful, loving, courageous, outrageous, hilarious, dear forever friend. Yeah, baby. Together, ready? Yeah!
That was beautiful, but the rest of them can't be that long.
Fast.